The war had lasted for 12 long years. For 12 years, worlds had burned. Across the galaxy, one name was spoken with fear and anger: Commander Rax Korr. He was not just a soldier, he was a symbol of destruction. Where he landed, cities fell. Where he walked, armies died. But it was not only the warrior inside that frightened people, it was the armor. The armor was the greatest weapon ever created by the alien empire. It was built from living metal taken from the heart of a dead star. It could survive plasma storms. It could stand inside a black hole's gravity field. It could take the heat of direct starfire and remain untouched. The suit repaired itself in seconds. It adapted to every weapon. It learned. It improved. In 12 years of war, it had never cracked, not once. Entire planets had tried to destroy it. They failed. And now, Earth was next. Above the planet, human ships were breaking apart. Fire spread across the sky like red lightning. Explosions flashed in orbit. The defense shields around Earth flickered and then collapsed. The invasion had begun. Through the burning clouds, something fell toward the surface, like a comet of fire. Rax Korr. He landed in the center of a ruined city street. The ground shattered beneath his weight. Dust and smoke filled the air. His armor glowed red from the heat of entry, but slowly the light faded. The metal cooled. Not a single mark was left behind. Human tanks turned their guns toward him. Missiles launched. They hit him directly. The explosions covered him in flame. When the smoke cleared, he was still standing, unmoved. Railgun rounds struck his chest. Laser fire burned across his helmet. Nothing worked. The armor adjusted. It absorbed. It endured. Rax began to walk forward, slow, calm, unstoppable. Human soldiers shouted orders. Some kept firing. Others stepped back without meaning to. Civilians ran through broken streets, trying to escape. Rax did not rush. He did not need to. Victory was certain. Then, through the smoke and falling ash, he saw someone standing still. A young human woman. She stood alone in the middle of the ruined road. No weapon in her hands, no armor on her body, just simple clothes covered in dust. But she was not running. She was not crying. She was watching him. Rax paused. His helmet scanned her. No cybernetic parts, no hidden weapons, no energy readings, no threat detected. Just a normal human. Behind her, human soldiers yelled, "Run! Get out of there!" She did not move. Instead, she took one slow step forward. Rax tilted his head slightly. Confusion was not an emotion he often felt. He raised his plasma cannon and aimed it directly at her chest. The weapon charged with a bright blue light. One shot would erase her completely. Still, she kept walking, step by step. Her face was calm, her breathing steady. There was no hatred in her eyes, no fear. Only quiet focus. The battlefield grew strangely silent. Even the soldiers stopped shouting. Ash drifted through the air between them. Rax's systems calculated the shot. Wind speed, distance, target lock, perfect accuracy. She stopped only one arm's length away from him, so close that she could see her reflection in his black helmet. Then she did something no one expected. She slowly lifted her hand. No sudden movement, no attack, just her fingers reaching forward, and she gently touched the center of his armored chest. That was all. No explosion, no energy blast, no weapon. just a human hand against alien metal. For one single second, nothing happened. The world seemed to hold its breath. Then, a sharp sound cut through the air. Crack! A thin line appeared beneath her fingertips. Rax froze. Inside his helmet, warning lights flashed red. Structural integrity failing, material stress rising. Impossible! The crack spread across his chest plate like ice forming on glass. Another crack followed, and another. His breathing grew heavier. His armor had survived stars. It had survived planets exploding. It had survived everything. But a human hand, a gentle touch, had just damaged the armor that could not break, and she hadn't even pushed. She had only touched him.
Rax stepped back. It was only one step, but it felt heavy. Commander Rax Korr had never stepped back from an enemy before. Inside his helmet, red warning lights flashed again and again. Loud alarms filled his ears. Structural failure, outer chest plate compromised. The crack on his armor grew longer. It spread across the metal like ice moving over frozen water. Small pieces of glowing dust fell from his chest. This was impossible. His armor had survived star explosions. It had stood inside the fire of dying suns. No weapon in the galaxy had ever damaged it, but now it was breaking. Because of her. The human woman still stood in front of him. Her hand had fallen back to her side. She was not smiling. She was not angry. She was calm. Rax's mind searched for answers. There had to be a hidden weapon, a device, some secret technology. He raised his plasma cannon again. This time he would not hesitate. The weapon charged with a loud hum. Blue energy gathered at the end of the barrel. The air around it burned. Human soldiers in the distance shouted in fear. "Move! Get away from him!" But she did not move. Rax fired. The blast shot forward like a beam of pure light. It could melt steel. It could turn bodies into ash in seconds. The energy struck her directly. For a moment, the street was covered in blinding light. Then, something strange happened. The energy did not explode. It did not burn her. It bent. The plasma curved around her body like water moving around a stone in a river. The light split in two and passed on both sides of her. When the glow faded, she was still standing. Not a single mark on her skin, not even smoke on her clothes. The ground behind her was destroyed. The buildings behind her were burning, but she was untouched. Rax froze again. His system began scanning her body with deeper sensors. Scanning, scanning, searching for shields, searching for hidden armor, searching for unknown radiation. For the first time, his system found something different. Not mechanical, not energy-based, not alien. It was biological, purely human, but it was stronger than normal. A strange wave moved around her body. It was soft, almost invisible, but it was there. His armor tried to understand it. It could not. The crack on his chest suddenly grew wider. Another sharp sound echoed. Crack! A second line spread from his shoulder down to his side. Inside his helmet, more warnings appeared. Material breakdown accelerating. Unknown interference detected. Rax's breathing became faster. He had fought creatures twice his size. He had destroyed machines bigger than cities. He had survived battles that lasted weeks without rest. But this was different. This was not force. This was not power. This was something else. The woman looked up at him. Even though his armor was tall and heavy, even though he was a giant compared to her, she did not look small. She looked steady. "You don't understand us," she said softly. Her voice was not loud, but somehow he heard every word clearly inside his helmet. Another crack formed near his collar. Small pieces of metal fell to the ground. Above the planet, in the dark sky, the alien fleet watched everything. Large warships floated in orbit. Commanders inside them stared at their screens in disbelief. They saw their greatest warrior stepping backwards. They saw the armor breaking. They began sending urgent signals. "What is happening? Report! Why is the armor failing?" But Rax had no answer. On the ground, human soldiers slowly lowered their weapons. They were confused, shocked. Hope began to rise in their eyes. The woman took one small step forward. Rax stepped back again. Another alarm screamed in his ears. "Core structure weakening. Recommend retreat." Retreat. The word felt wrong. He had never retreated. Not once in 12 years. The crack on his chest now spread across his entire upper body. Thin lines moved like spiderwebs across the dark metal. His armor felt heavier, colder. For the first time since he became a warrior, Commander Rax Korr felt something unfamiliar growing inside him. It was not pain. It was not anger. It was fear. Not fear of death, but fear of the unknown. This human woman was not attacking. She was not attacking. She was only standing there. And somehow, her presence alone was tearing apart the strongest armor in the galaxy. The battlefield was silent now. No one fired. No one moved. They all watched, as the impossible fracture continued to grow.
Deep above Earth, inside a massive alien warship, commanders stood in silence. Large holographic screens showed the battle below. They saw Commander Rax Korr, their strongest warrior, stepping backward. They saw the cracks spreading across his armor. They did not understand what they were seeing. "This is impossible," one commander said. "That armor cannot fail. It has survived neutron blasts. It has survived star cores. Why is it breaking?" They demanded answers from the armor's control system. They sent override commands. They tried remote repair signals. Nothing worked. The system kept sending one message back: unknown biological interference detected. The word biological confused them even more. Down on Earth, deep inside a hidden underground base, human scientists were also watching the same live feed. Unlike the aliens, they were not surprised. They were quiet, focused. One old scientist slowly removed his glasses and whispered, "It's happening." Years ago, before the war became this big, human researchers had discovered something strange. It was an accident at first. They had been studying alien technology taken from crashed ships. Every time they tested advanced alien devices near certain humans, the machines behaved strangely. Screens flickered, power levels dropped, systems shut down without reason. At first, they thought it was equipment failure, but after many tests, they discovered the truth. Some humans carried a natural biological field. It was not electricity. It was not radiation. It was something machines could easily measure. It was something alive. This field reacted strongly against alien technology. It did not destroy it with force. Instead, it disturbed it. It confused it. It weakened its structure at a deep level. For most humans, this field was very weak, almost harmless. But in rare cases, it was powerful, very powerful. Less than 1% of humans carried a strong version of it, and among them, only a few could control it. The girl standing in the broken street was one of those few. Her name was Mira. She had been found when she was 8 years old. During a small alien attack on her town, their drones had suddenly fallen from the sky when she ran past them. At first, no one understood why.
Later, scientists tested her carefully. Machines failed when she touched them. Alien metal became fragile near her skin. Energy weapons lost power around her. But her ability was unstable when she was young. If she was scared or angry, the effect grew wild and dangerous. So she was trained, for years, not like a soldier, not to fight, but to stay calm, to breathe slowly, to control her emotions, to focus her mind. She learned that her power was strongest when her heart was steady, when she did not hate, when she did not fear. She learned that her touch could break alien machines. But she was also taught something important. Her ability was not meant to destroy. It was meant to protect. Back in the ruined street, Mira stood in front of Rax. She did not look powerful. She looked small compared to the tall war armor. But inside her, the biological field moved like a quiet storm. Rax tried to step forward again. His armor resisted. The crack across his chest grew wider. Inside his helmet, new warnings appeared. Energy core unstable, outer layers failing, neural link interference. His suit began shutting down piece by piece. First, his targeting system went dark. Then the plasma cannon lost power. His movement support weakened. The armor felt heavier on his body. He tried to activate self-repair mode. It failed. He tried emergency reinforcement. It failed. The armor that had crushed entire armies, the armor that had walked through fire and explosions, could not survive her calm presence. Mira slowly raised her hand again, not in anger, not in attack, just steady. The invisible field around her touched the cracked metal once more. Another sharp sound filled the air. Crack! A large piece of armor broke from his shoulder and fell to the ground. Rax felt the cold air of Earth touch his skin for the first time in years. Shock moved through him. He had trusted this armor more than his own body. It had always protected him. It had always made him unstoppable. Now it was failing, and the human in front of him was not even fighting. She was simply standing there, calm, breathing slowly, protecting her world. Above them, both alien commanders and human scientists watched history change, because for the first time in 12 years of war, the strongest weapon in the galaxy was losing, not to a bigger weapon, not to a stronger army, but to a human secret the aliens never understood.
The final crack came like thunder. For a moment, the world felt still. Then the war armor shattered. Large pieces of black metal broke apart and fell to the ground. The sound echoed through the ruined street like breaking glass. Dust rose into the air. Small sparks flickered and died. The strongest armor in the galaxy was gone. Commander Rax Korr stood in the middle of the broken pieces. For the first time in many years, there was no metal around him. No glowing chest plate, no heavy helmet, no powerful weapons attached to his arms. Just flesh, just a living being. He was tall, but without the armor he did not look like a monster anymore. His skin was pale gray. Strange marks covered his arms. His breathing was heavy. He looked smaller now. Not weak, but real. Across the street, human soldiers raised their weapons quickly. Rifles aimed at his chest, fingers tightened on triggers. They had lost friends. They had lost cities. This was the enemy who had led the attack. One order, and he would fall. Mira saw the fear and anger in their eyes. She lifted her hand. "Don't shoot," she said clearly. Her voice was calm but strong. The soldiers hesitated. Rax slowly looked around him. Pieces of his armor lay everywhere. The helmet that once protected his mind was split open on the ground.
He felt cold air on his skin. He felt something else, too, vulnerability. For 12 years he had never felt exposed. The armor had been his shield, his power, his identity. Without it, he felt different, almost empty. Mira stepped closer to him. The soldiers watched nervously, ready to fire if he moved. But Rax did not attack. He did not try to fight. He simply stood there, staring at his broken armor. "You came to destroy us," Mira said softly, "because you thought we were weak." Her words were not full of hate. They were full of truth. Rax slowly lifted his head and looked at her. In his mind, memories moved like shadows. Planets burning, cities falling, enemies running in fear. He had always believed strength decided everything. Stronger weapons, stronger armor, stronger soldiers. That was how the galaxy worked. Weak civilizations disappeared. Strong ones ruled. That was what he had been taught since birth. But this human girl had not used a weapon. She had not shouted. She had not attacked him with rage. She had only touched him, gently, and everything he believed about strength had broken with his armor. Mira stood only a few steps away now. If she wanted, she could place her hand on his chest again. Without the armor, the effect might be worse. She could end his life. The soldiers knew it. Rax knew it. She knew it. But she did not raise her hand to strike. Instead, she looked into his eyes. "You see power as something that destroys," she said quietly. "We see power as something that protects." Rax's breathing slowed. No one had ever spoken to him like this before. Enemies had screamed. Enemies had begged. No one had shown mercy. His hands were empty now. No weapon, no shield. For the first time in his life, Commander Rax Korr stood defeated. But he was not dead. Mira had chosen not to kill him. That choice confused him more than the broken armor. Why spare the enemy who caused so much damage? Why show mercy in the middle of war? He looked at the metal around his feet, the armor that had crushed armies, the armor that made him feared across the stars. It failed against kindness, against calm, against a gentle touch. Slowly, Rax lowered his head, not in weakness, but in understanding. The humans did not win because they were stronger. They won because they were different, because even in war, they still chose compassion. The soldiers slowly lowered their weapons when they saw Rax was not fighting. The battlefield felt quiet again. The great warrior who once walked through fire now stood unarmed before the very people he came to destroy. And the thing that truly broke him was not pain, it was not defeat, it was mercy. Her touch had not been violent, it had not been cruel, it had been gentle. And that was what shattered more than his armor. It shattered his belief that strength only comes from force.
High above Earth, the alien fleet watched in silence. On their massive warships, commanders stood frozen in front of glowing screens. They saw the broken armor. They saw Commander Rax Korr standing unarmed in the middle of a ruined human city. No explosions, no final attack, no last stand. Their greatest weapon had fallen without a fight. For 12 years, Rax had been their symbol of victory. Wherever he went, resistance ended. His armor alone was enough to break enemy morale. But now that armor was scattered across the ground like useless scrap. And the human who broke it was not a soldier. She was not carrying a weapon. She had not even raised her voice. The alien commanders felt something they had not expected: uncertainty.
They had studied humans for years. Their reports described humans as emotional, divided, physically weak compared to many other species, easy to conquer. They believed human technology was behind. Human weapons were powerful, but not powerful enough. Everything in their calculations showed Earth would fall. But their calculations did not include one thing. They did not understand humans. On the main command ship, the fleet leader spoke slowly. What destroyed the armor? Engineers gave the same answer again. No external weapon detected. No energy surge. No mechanical overload. Biological interference from the human. The word sounded strange in their language. Biological, living, natural, not built, not engineered. The fleet leader looked at the image of Mira standing in front of Rax. Small, calm, unarmed, yet unstoppable. Humans are not weak, the leader said quietly. They are unpredictable. Below, on Earth, human forces waited. They expected another wave of attacks. They prepared for orbital bombardment. But it never came. Inside the alien ships, a final decision was made. Order full retreat. The command spread across the fleet. Engines powered up. Large warships slowly turned away from Earth. One by one, they jumped into faster-than-light travel. The sky grew quiet. On the ground, human soldiers looked up in disbelief as enemy ships disappeared. The invasion was over. The war that lasted 12 years ended in a single silent moment. Not because of a superweapon, not because of a final explosion, but because one human chose to stand still. Commander Rax Korr was taken aboard one of the last ships to leave orbit. He was not treated as a hero, but he was not punished either. He had become something else. Proof. Proof that humanity could not be understood by scanning their ships or studying their weapons. Proof that power is not always loud. During the long journey back to alien space, Rax often thought about the moment his armor cracked. He remembered the sound. He remembered the calm look in Mira's eyes. He had believed strength meant domination. He had believed fear created control. But humans fought differently. They were connected. They protected each other. Their emotions were not weaknesses. They were sources of strength. Years later, when new alien officers studied the history of the human war, they were shown recordings of that day. They saw the armor shatter. They saw the gentle touch, and they were given one warning. When speaking about Earth, alien leaders chose their words carefully. They did not call humans weak anymore. They did not call them fragile. Instead, they said, "Do not fear their weapons. Do not fear their ships. Fear their unity. Fear their touch. Because sometimes the strongest force in the galaxy is not fire. It is not metal. It is not destruction. Sometimes the softest thing in the galaxy is the strongest." And Earth was living proof of that.